Uh, so, right. So we will be recording this. We'll try to get it up on our YouTube channel soon. So, if you wanted to go back and watch some of it or share it, it will be up there.
Cool.
Um, so I just want to thank you all for joining us this evening. This is the next in our series of professional practice talks for artists featuring Kirsten Flaherty. This is our third and final talk of the series of our spring term. However, we hope to have more on this topic and also on other topics in the future as well. We're starting to make plans for a fall term now, so be sure to visit our website at manhattangraphiccenter.org. You'll be able to sign up for a mailing list then where we announce stuff like this, so that will help you keep up to date. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. If you're not familiar with our organization, Manhattan Graphic Center is a community print shop that supports the learning and practice of fine art printmaking. We provide an affordable, inclusive, professional studio and exhibition space. Plus, we offer classes and other public programs, including artist talks like this one. We also offer scholarships. Manhattan Graphic Center would like to thank the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, the New York State Council of the Arts, our members, and our other donors and friends, all who make our artist talks and other programming possible. My name is Robin Sharon, and I'm joined by my colleague Tyler Jump this evening, and we're very excited to welcome Kirsten Flaherty to our Artist Talk series. We're going to do a Q&A after Kirsten's presentation, so if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat that you see at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to them at the end. So about Kirsten, through a decade of experience in print-related organizations such as Pace Prints, IFPDA, International Print Center New York, and D. Paper Mill, Kirsten Flaherty has also balanced her art practice. Specializing in mezzotint, she delves into the centuries-old technique known for its rich quality and meticulous process. Her prints have been featured in international invitationals, and she shares her expertise through numerous mezzotint demonstrations across the United States. Additionally, Flaherty serves as an active role in the board of directors for both the New York Society of Etchers and Manhattan Graphic Center. And I also just want to add that some of you may know Kirsten from when she was a monitor at MGC. And with that, I am going to hand things over to Kirsten.
Hi. Thank you guys for coming to today's presentation. I do have a lot to say over the next hour or so feel free to, anyone feel free to interrupt me or ask questions or whatever. If I'm droning on about something that no one's interested about, just let me know. I am going to try to share my screen real quick. Okay, everyone can see this?
Yeah,
okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So over the next hour, we're just going to talk about my own experience, and then also strategies and insights and some tips that I would recommend of how to balance your artistic career with a full-time job through all of my experience in working for various institutions in the art world, as Robin was saying. Over the past over 10 years, I've worked at various different print organizations around the city. Again, Robin mentioned Pace Prints was my most recent position. IFPDA, D. International Print Center, New York. I was also the programming manager for Manhattan Graphic Center years ago. So I've also done this while balancing my own art practice with all of these full-time work in these art spaces. At the moment, I am actually no longer at Pace Prints, but I am both tattooing and working printing for an artist uptown, Ellen Peckham. So also still balancing multiple jobs. So to get started, so the way I began working for galleries, this is just some examples of my work, but the way I began working for galleries was through interning through various arts organizations while I was in college years ago. And most of these internships were unpaid. So Some of these internships were also more professional than others. I remember my first gallery internship in Soho consisted of tasks that were like more personally related to the director rather than for the actual business, such as babysitting the owner's child for hours at a time when we were left alone at the gallery together. But through those internships, I just kind of pushed forward and tried to keep my head down and just kept working to apply to better internships, making better connections. Obviously, I do want to note I don't condone unpaid internships. I've always been super against the notion, even though I've worked for organizations that will only offer like a very bare stipend to their interns. That's a whole nother story. But through the bad internships that I did have, they eventually led me to a really great internship at the International Print Center, New York, now known as Print Center, New York. But that led to my first full-time paid job in the arts. I think this is a video of an install I was doing just to give you guys an idea of some of the things I would do through my recent roles. This was a Solowit set that I installed at Pace Prints a couple years ago, but thought it was fun to include these videos. So back to referencing my first job at IPCNY. I interned at IPCNY for on and off for over a year. And when a position became available, the then director, Ann Coffin, since she'd worked with me on and off for so long, she felt confident enough to kind of take a chance on me and gave me the position of communications coordinator at IPCNY. And that led me to meet so many wonderful emerging printmakers, as well as other accomplished arts professionals and curators. And the position really prepared me for my future roles at Dunay and Plant House and IFPDA and PACE. So my most recent position was working for Pace Prints. I began in Pace in a nameless role as the only assistant to 3 directors at their 57th Street location. After 5 years and various titles, my role kind of grew into being an associate director at their Chelsea location. To give you an idea of the role, I would oversee the management of a diverse inventory of over 3,000 on-site prints and sculptures, and keep meticulous records for the multiple thousands of prints held off-site at our warehouse on 18th Street. I handled sales from client acquisition, like in person and online, to artwork shipment. Worked closely with staff through 4 different locations to clearly communicate the needs of the clients, while ensuring, the gallery's sales and exhibitions were successful. I was responsible for preparing exhibition materials, evaluating print conditions for reporting, and managing all the installations and client viewings, all that fun stuff. So moving on to this. So through these full-time roles, I also began curating fundraising exhibitions independently, which ended up raising like up to $55,000 for various nonprofits through the years. Since 2016, I had been spearheading fundraising initiatives through curated exhibitions, showcasing over 300 artists for various nonprofit organizations. Some of the organizations, definitely not all of them, some of them included World Central Kitchen, Happy Paw Animal Rescue, Vocal New York, the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights, City Harvest, the Civil Liberties Defense Fund. So over the past 4 years, we've been able to do these amazing fundraisers. And the inception of these efforts dates back to January 2016, which is where this flyer is from, coinciding with the Dakota Access Pipeline construction through the Standing Rock land. And that inaugural exhibition rallied 100 predominantly printmakers from across the United States, a lot of MGC members too. And they generously contributed their paintings, drawings, and prints in solidarity with the Standing Rock water protectors. The goal of the fundraiser was to obviously raise money and demonstrate support for the cause, and raise essential funds to aid in their resistance against the pipeline's development. These are some other examples of exhibitions we've shown. The fundraising exhibitions, they were held annually or biannually whenever I could find the time to do it. and each they were dedicated to supporting significant nonprofit entities that I had just that I just went through, also including like a lot of animal rescue. Um, these exhibitions were typically held as one-day pop-up events at various galleries who graciously offered their space, donated their space and time, and then eventually, particularly in response to the challenges posed by the COVID pandemic, we had to start moving these fundraisers online. And here are some examples of the pop-ups. To quickly wrap up this fundraising idea that I had been working on for the few years. So in 2020, we were faced with the constraints of social distancing, of course, and the fundraiser transitioned to an online format, and the marketing plan I had to develop with the website to showcase these individual artworks for purchase, each with, the image and all the descriptions of the title, year, measurements, media. Each artwork could be purchased directly through the website. So collectors, instead of having to like get to this pop-up location in New York on site, they were able to purchase this artwork online, which definitely like opened up our collector audience, resulted in a lot more donations. It was $9,500 in donations. And then all of these donations were allocated towards medical supplies distributed by this really wonderful nonprofit started by some people over at Pace Gallery called N95 for NYC. That is another flyer for that successful exhibition that was online. So now I'm going to go back to talking about my work, which I was able to kind of try to maintain my own printmaking practice through working full time and through doing these fundraisers. These are some examples of my drawings and mezzotints. Probably these are the more well-known artworks of mine, my dog mezzotints. The focal point of my printmaking career or exploration, or however you would describe it, has been about the American Pit Bull Terrier. And I predominantly employ the technique of mezzotint, which is, a venerable method celebrated in 18th century England for its opulent velvet-like tonalities, the nuanced gradients, and you can just capture some really beautiful, intricate details with the medium. And these are some examples of the pit bull mezzotints. Through these delicate details of mezzotint, I would try to imbue my portraits of these noble dogs with like a gentle tactility to kind of illustrate their distinctive qualities and emotions and individual personas. The American Pit Bull Terrier kind of bears the weight of this like unjust persecution and unwarranted retribution, just a lot of misconceptions about the dog. So I was just trying to like revision the pit bull in these mezzotints with these silly little portraits. Also so all these pictures are actually of my late dog Otis, who fell ill last year. I also began drawing pet portraits to raise money for his medical bills, because the last few years of his life, he was going to the hospital a lot, which was, as pet owners know, can get very pricey and expensive. So this led me to like another side of hustling and creating, to try to raise money to, get him the best healthcare he could have access to. And, after he did pass, I continued to make these portraits, and these custom pet portraits or animal mezzotints. With each one, I donate a portion of the proceeds to a nonprofit animal shelter. Organizations and shelters like the ACC really need our help right now. They're pretty overwhelmed. So this is like my small way of trying to give back and support these really important organizations. So these are all like micron pen and ink on a lot of like handmade paper that I actually had left over from Dudene. So to move on and kind of talk about some tips that I would give an artist working in the art world. To continue your own art practice while working in an art space, it can definitely be a delicate balance. Art spaces can encompass anything from galleries to museums, to cultural institutions, nonprofits, but each also offer an opportunity for artistic expression and engagement. Um, Traditional galleries and museums, of course, have such a history with beautiful curated exhibitions, which you can really learn from both renowned artists like historical, contemporary, artists working within these spaces can definitely figure out an opportunity for showcasing their work to a broader audience and also just stay inspired in the spaces. But of course, navigating, curatorial decision making and trying to secure representation within these spaces can definitely present a challenge while you're also, trying to be there to support the gallery itself and the artists that you're, they're working for. So it is important to remember a professional attitude when you're working in your position, because it's not really welcomed in my experience in the gallery world to just speak freely of your own artistic career. You're really there to focus on the artists who are represented by the gallery and the promotion of their work and the promotion of the gallery. So yeah, it's definitely a delicate balance to figure out, what is and isn't really, I don't know, acceptable. And of course, you have the more like grassroots art collectives and artist-led collaborations, which are more like community-driven creativity, social movements, can really like inspire artistic experimentation. I would definitely recommend artists becoming involved in collectives. You really benefit from like a supportive network of peers, more opportunity for collaborative projects. It can, of course, like we were referencing the fundraisers, a platform for amplifying marginalized voices, as shown through those fundraising exhibitions we were talking about. So to kind of talk about, how I got involved in showing my work at galleries. I've been showing my prints in gallery exhibitions since 2009. The first group exhibition I was in was titled Etchings and Monotypes. It was organized by the New York Society of Etchers at the National Arts Club, obviously many years ago. Working with the New York Society of Etchers introduced me to Carrier Pigeon magazine, which is a quarterly publication run by artists, and they're a really wonderful group of people who in the past have hosted, countless exhibitions, gone to pop-up artist fairs, hosted prints and demonstrations, print demonstrations, and they were an organization I volunteered for many years following. And being a part of both these collectives kind of expanded my connections and friendships in the art world. And it really allowed us to kind of like encourage each other and like find our own community and build upon that. It's also just like a great way to encourage and challenge each other, and kind of helps you keep accountable to your own deadlines or goals if you're all working together on an exhibition or a community project or something like that. Artist groups are a great way to work together on projects that can kind of push your own work and promote yourself and others in new ways, and just kind of like reach a larger audience together. Of course, working in the arts, it really presents its own blend of challenges and opportunities for artists seeking to integrate their creative vision with their professional roles. You just have to really embrace collaboration, diversity, a spirit of like inquiring, talking to other artists, seeing, like other people's perspective and ideas and projects. And you can really continue to nurture your creative practice and contribute meaningfully to the cultural landscape around you. So, as far as identifying your artistic goals and maybe, considering your role in the art space and how this aligns with your goals, time management is very important, of course, with balancing work while your artistic practice. It really does require effective time management. So some artists decide to seek out jobs that may not be tightly related to the art field. Then it kind of gives you some breathing room to really, um, concentrate on your own practice. I can completely understand this point of view, as it's kind of hard to prevent burnout when you're constantly working in the art world and then going home to work on your art, or going to the print shop to, work in on your editions. Um, Really trying to prioritize tasks, setting realistic goals for yourself, allocating time specifically for creating art is super important to balancing your artistic process, as well as kind of, preventing burnout, like I had discussed earlier. So, balancing the demands of work commitments, as far as prioritizing tasks. Um, my suggestion would just be that, like, you can begin by identifying tasks that are essential to both your professional responsibilities within art spaces and your artistic goals. Just try to figure out and prioritize these tasks based on importance and urgency. I'm pretty nerdy and like making a calendar for myself and like to-do list, and kind of figuring out, what are the most immediate tasks and how many days I have to do them. Again, with like the amount of urgency you have with specific tasks, kind of distinguishing between, non-negotiable commitments and tasks that can be kind of deferred later while you take care of, your priorities. Um, as far as setting realistic deadlines, it's obviously essential for maintaining momentum and accountability in both your professional and artistic pursuits. Um, Kind of breaking down larger projects or goals into more manageable milestones can kind of help assign deadlines for like each stage of the process of the task that you need to kind of take care of. Um, Also being mindful of just balancing your more ambitious aspirations with like the practical restraints that you may have in your day to day. Just ensuring that your deadlines are challenging yet achievable. Um, Obviously, that, as I was saying before, about allocating dedicated time for creating art, you kind of want to like guard your creative time with vigilance. So like if you have a dedicated block of time within your schedule, you want to just really like make sure you stick to that to engage in your artistic practice. It's really easy to get distracted and then disappointed when you don't meet these, mini goals that you may have, and trying to figure out, the tasks that you need to take care of. Um, I would just say like really treat your artistic time very seriously. Just be sure to like keep free from distractions or interruptions, like put the phone away while you're working on your art, and really just like concentrate on being there in the moment when you do have that time. Um, I guess I've also found it helps to experiment with like different scheduling techniques, like time blocking, or establishing a routine, like a weekly routine, so you kind of can like optimize your creative productivity and like figure out what works best for you. At the same time, though, things do pop up, and embracing flexibility is also, essential, and kind of, navigating the unpredictable nature of like when you're inspired, or if you have something come up at work that needs immediate attention, professional demands, just remaining open also to adjusting your schedule and priorities as needed, while you're, still trying to allow for, your creative exploration and time for that. Um, I would also say try to leverage, as I was saying, like Google Calendars or Google Docs, like leveraging technology and organizational tools to kind of streamline your management efforts and, enhance your own productivity. There are definitely a lot of platforms and apps and, that you can use to kind of track your tasks and like set reminders or visualize your schedule more clearly. It kind of, if you experiment with all these different tools, you can kind of find the ones that like best help you with your workflow and preferences, and making sure that you can balance every commitment going on in your life. Um, Also a big thing for, and A big thing for me has always been, let me see if I can open this. I would always say that websites are super important and your social media presence is, super important, unfortunately. I would recommend having a website and an Instagram that's just dedicated to your art practice. Don't post anything personal on it. That's just what you're, trying to show yourself as an artist out in the world and your work and the exhibitions you might be in, all that. Um, Social media, of course, is a great marketing tool, and you want to just kind of keep it business and not too personal. Um, about websites, this is my website, and I always would say that you have to make sure your website is like simple to navigate, easy to load. If a gallery director tries to open your website and they're just sitting there for minutes at a time, they're not going to wait for you to have a slow download of a video or an image. They're just going to move on to the next artist that they were searching for. We unfortunately live in a super fast-paced world, and an artist must have their work readily available. Easy to search for in like a Google search or whatever, easy to type in your website link, just to really like capture the viewer's attention and make it easy to navigate and avoid frustration for your viewer. All right, I'm gonna go back to our presentation here. Also, I would say, so through all these management skills and, trying to balance all the tasks that you have between two careers, it's good to regularly reflect on your time management practices, kind of evaluate what strategies are working well, where improvements can be made. Try to be honest with yourself and your strengths and areas for growth. Seeking feedback from peers or mentors, other artists around if you can, just to try to like continuously refine your approach to not only your artistic career, but your time management and, just adapting to changes in your workload and priorities and, creative aspirations. Establishing boundaries. I would also say setting boundaries to protect your creative time and energy, kind of communicating your needs with other colleagues or supervisors, just to ensure your commitment to your artistic practice, really just like protecting your creative time and energy and considering factors such as specific times and locations for wherever you work, just to make sure you're not interrupted, distractions are minimized, your balance between work and personal life doesn't really blow over. It's good to be setting guidelines when you're available for professional commitments, kind of specifying expectations regarding interruptions during creative work and delineating the types of activities that are more conducive to your artistic practice. Communicating these guidelines with clarity too and assertiveness, kind of ensuring that your supervisors understand the importance of, your personal time is your personal time. And, when you're at work, you're at work. Consistency is also key to effectively enforcing these boundaries within your own art space. Just kind of like uphold and adhere to the guidelines that you've established and really just like try to focus on, the task that you have at hand. You want to kind of model the behavior you see from other successful artists around you, especially if you're in the art world, kind of and demonstrate that firm commitment to prioritizing your creative practice while also fulfilling your professional responsibilities. So, I mean, like advocating for yourself obviously is important, but also, approaching these discussions with professionalism, kind of framing your requests within the context of your contributions to the organization. It's a tight balance of setting boundaries and communicating your needs while also like advocating for yourself, but, obviously still supporting your workplace and keeping that level of professionalism. Um, of course, it is important to leverage your resources when you're in these art spaces. It can be instrumental to bolstering your artistic endeavors without you. There is a thin line between crossing the line into self-promotion, though. So, in order to effectively utilize these resources while maintaining a professional demeanor, it's, especially with like a studio space, if you're lucky enough to work in a artistic organization that may have an art space, that the studio spaces are access to communal workspaces where artists can create and collaborate, on your off time when you're not at work. It would be, obviously you should be utilizing these studio spaces to immerse yourself in a supportive and creative environment, kind of conducive to your own, artistic experimentation. Um, Obviously, engaging with fellow artists, sharing that space, fostering a sense of community and collaboration, just enriches your practice without, overt self-promotion, really. If you work in a print shop or an artist studio, if you are able to take advantage of the equipment and facilities provided by the art spaces, any special tools or materials or technology that you wouldn't be able to access otherwise. Obviously, though, respecting the shared nature of these resources while using them, ensures that they are still available for all artists to utilize. Art spaces, professional art spaces, obviously also can serve as a hub for networking and professional development within the art community. Participating in any events or workshops or exhibitions hosted by professional art spaces kind of really seizes the opportunity to connect with fellow artists, curators, industry professionals. You just want to like approach networking, of course, with like authenticity and humility, but also and like focus on building genuine relationships and fostering that camaraderie rather than just like straight promoting your work. You want to be a human to fellow artists around you. But yeah, building connections and presence on social media as well in real life. As I was saying before, galleries will reference your Instagram, and they will note how many followers you have or how much engagement or activity is happening through your Instagram. So it is important to kind of keep all of these things in mind while you're trying to push forward in your artistic career. Again, with collaborative projects, as I was saying here, with a sort of supportive community, collaborating with other artists or arts organizations affiliated with the art space that you're in, or separate print shops or artist studios outside of your professional workplace. It is really important to kind of try to pool your talents and resource to create impactful events or exhibitions or community outreach programs that can showcase the collective creativity of the artistic community that you're in. Really embracing that collaborative process is an opportunity for mutual growth and enrichment, and recognizing and celebrating contributions to all of the collaborators involved. I included this example too of a collaborative project that I worked on with the Gutenberg Arts guys in Gutenberg, New Jersey, who are also, evolved from the carrier pigeon crowd. So in 2021, I curated this collection of prints centered around the theme of environmentalism entitled In Our Hands. This portfolio was showcased in an exhibition at Gutenberg Arts through October of 2022 and featured artists, distinguished artists from across the United States. This is the colophon for the edition. Notable contributors included renowned rights activist Sue Coe, esteemed master printer Ruth Lingen, an accomplished mural artist Killjoy, among many other 13 talented artists, as you see here. These are some some photos from the exhibition. So the overarching objective of the In Our Hands portfolio was twofold: to inspire artists to depict the beauty of our natural world while also, kind of prompting a reevaluation of our Western ideologies regarding industry and, environmental stewardship. Um, we were able to get paper generously donated by Arnhem 1618 and Speedball, and the portfolio encompassed a diverse array of printmaking techniques, including relief and silkscreen, mezzotint lithography, etching, letterpress, all across the board. And the portfolio and accompanying exhibition kind of just blended, hope and despair and transformation and apathy, with the aim of underscoring the critical significance of environmental preservation. Um, and then again, just so that we gave back with this portfolio, a percentage of the proceeds from each portfolio sale are allocated to support an environmental nonprofit. Artists from the portfolio were encouraged to choose their favored nonprofits, and then the collector would then choose from this list, where the proceeds would be allocated from their purchase. This is Martin Mazzora's linocut, Rie Hasegawa's litho, Killjoy, Andrew Mullally, and then Ellen Peckham, who I actually currently print for uptown. It's a part-time job. So yeah, this portfolio was kind of just, it was a really great group of artists. We all worked on this together and printing these together, promoting these together. And, it kind of just, it really can uplift your artwork when you're working with these other artists who have different crowds, different audiences than you. And you're also, at least with this portfolio, we were trying to do a good thing by, raising awareness and advocating for environmentalism. So as far as my slides, I mean, I do have a couple more details. Overall, I mean, I would just say, like, it is a hard balance to obviously, keep everything in line with your professional career, as working as an artist. Over the past many years, I have kind of balanced multiple jobs in addition to trying to keep steadfast in, like, creating different, or like pushing forward my own artistic career. It's really helped me to have a supportive community of fellow artists and mentors and colleagues, to help push my own practice. Seeking out mentors that can offer you guidance and, like, wisdom and their perspective kind of based on their own experiences in the art world. You really want to look for, like, artists and educators within art spaces who inspire you and, have a career that, like, resonates with your artistic vision and your goals. Cultivating that, like, mentor relationship, really can help you receive constructive feedback and advice and kind of encouragement to grow as an artist. If you were like, even if it was like a mentor, teacher, professor at a university or a place like Manhattan Graphics Center, classes where you can, both meet supportive colleagues and then also have that mentor that can kind of guide you through, balancing an art career and how to get your artwork out there in front of more eyes. Also, then again, as I touched on before, like, embracing feedback and critique from the community of artists. Again, as I was saying, collaboration. You really want to just work in an art space that offers you a unique opportunity to, immerse yourself in a dynamic environment, that's rich with inspiration and energy. And, just keep balancing that as best as you can with your professional career. In conclusion, I just say working in art spaces requires a lot of, like, intention and organization and flexibility. I live on my Google Calendar. If it's not in my Google Calendar, then it's not getting done. So kind of figuring out different strategies that work for you, different apps and technology. As I said before, implementing strategies with time management while also, maintaining self-care can really nurture your artistic vision and your professional pursuits. I feel like I am talking forever. So maybe I should just open up for questions, or if there's anything that I didn't cover, if you guys have any thoughts or want to share your own experiences or insights or anything like that. I want
Well,
to stop
first of all,
rambling.
yeah, first of all, Kristen, I really want to thank you. This was really informative. You have like some great suggestions there that maybe folks hadn't thought about, like how to prioritize their time and how to interact with other artists and stuff like that. Um, so, as I said, if anyone has questions, you can put it in the chat, or actually, we're a small group. You can also maybe just unmute and ask if anyone would like to ask Kirsten anything. Um, I sort of had a question. Um, so like there's a difference between being what I call like an art worker, sort of like what you've done, and maybe having other types of day jobs. So maybe you could, do you have any thoughts on that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, you mean whether an artist should go into the art world as a professional career,
No, but
or
I don't want to, I guess I will personalize it a bit. So right now, I'm staff at Manhattan Graphic Center, and I find um, it's quite different than jobs I've had in the past. Like for a long time, I freelanced like at ad agencies and places like that doing print production. Um, and now it seems to me more like my job sort of like melds with my art practice more.
yeah.
Like there's less, there's less, not that there aren't boundaries, but there's less definition between what's what. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's quite different.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. It's I definitely understand. I think I mentioned this before. I definitely understand why some artists do not want to work in the art world. It's easy to kind of feel like you're constantly surrounded by art at work, so you don't really necessarily want to focus on your own career when you go home. So I get it if you would rather like, be working at a restaurant or a bar or something, and then you could just have that special time with your art once you're out of your professional career. Um, it it may be easier, honestly, for some people to not be involved in like a print shop or a gallery or whatever. I know that I kind of found it pretty hard over the years to maintain my artistic practice at times because I was so focused in like the gallery world or whatever my art day to day was that I kind of, you kind of get sick of it after a while. And if you deal with art all day, you don't want to necessarily come home and deal with your own art, even though that's like, your personal creative time. Um, but yeah, I guess it just like I guess it depends on the person. But I've definitely found it hard to delineate that, art world to art personal creative time. It does like it's very easy to blend those two together. So I get where you're coming from, having to work at the print shop and then print on your own artwork. It's you gotta like make sure you make time for yourself.
Right. So any other questions? Someone, as I said, we're a small group, so folks can just unmute and ask if they'd like to ask Kirsten anything. Um, maybe about the software she uses to keep organized, stuff like that. Any questions? No, I
I'll ask a
think,
question. You can ask a question. I'd love to hear a little bit more about, you talked about balancing, like getting yourself motivated to work on your own art when you have all these other things going on. I'd love to know how you think about, carving out that space and making sure it's dedicated and finding the time to really focus on your personal work while you have all these other things going on that you're doing to sort of,
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way I have forced myself to work on my own artwork when I'm like on the verge of burning out, probably is to like set myself like very distinct deadlines and be like, in a week, I need to finish this sketch for something, or like in, a couple days, I need to really like get the layout for this print or this tattoo or however. So yeah, I think with me, the only thing that's ever worked for me is like sticking to hard deadlines, and because I, you know, as I was saying before, I've had so many jobs and I've had to balance so many things over the years that like if it's, again, not in my Google Calendar, I'm probably not going to do it. But I think it's just like being strict with yourself and really trying to remind yourself like what your end goals are, I guess, and like what you're actively doing to like make it there, and just try to like step outside yourself and like, like check in with yourself, I guess, with your goals and whether you're like successfully taking the steps to get there over time, if that makes sense, if that
Yeah, it
answers your
really does.
question.
It really does. Yeah, thank you.
Right, so anyone else would like to ask a question of Kirsten?
I'll ask a question. Kirsten Mershmer. Um,
Hi.
you mentioned the tattoo work, and so
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to know a little bit more about like how much of that is your own creativity and how much is it's people coming in saying, I want an eagle, and you've got to make him an eagle. And is it influencing your artwork that you're making and doing this, or do anyways, could you just talk about the
Yeah.
your career as a tattoo artist, how it's influencing your personal work?
Yeah. Well, so how I got started tattooing, I mean, I've always kind of hung out around the tattoo world in addition to the art world. But about 2 years ago, I was able to, just a friend of a friend got me in touch with this amazing tattooer who only does like an etching engraving type style. And he was willing to apprentice me. So like, again, going back into the multiple jobs thing here, but I was working at Pace 5 days a week and then going to the tattoo shop to apprentice 1 or 2 days a week. So, for a year and a half, I was just, working probably like every day of my life to try to learn the art of tattooing while also, New York's expensive. So it's not like I could really quit my full-time job while I was trying to learn this new art technique. But I at the moment only really do one style. I'm really lucky that people have decided that they like to get engraving tattoos from me, but it is interesting to have to like learn how to redraw in a more simple kind of style so that you can so that I can tattoo it because I'm obviously only a few years into this, so I'm learning a lot every day. But yeah, I guess it has informed my drawing a little bit, just trying to like kind of consider necessary and unnecessary details and like how simplistic I can make a drawing. Yeah, luckily for me, I've been only doing black and gray tattoos that are usually engraving style. So it's been kind of like, you know, um, pretty similar to how I used to draw for my etchings. But the tattoo industry is also there are a lot of people doing it, so I don't know how long it'll last, but right now it's I'm able to do the very similar to the drawing style that I enjoy most, so I'm lucky for that at the moment.
I have a related follow-up question. Given all the different jobs that you've had that are like around the art world, is there like a certain type of job that has been sort of most advantageous for your art practice that you feel like that's like been a good way in to move your own art forward?
Yeah, when I worked at Dudonnet, I'm sure you guys all know Dudonnet, but they are a paper mill nonprofit in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. That was a really amazing opportunity because I was around artists in the studio every day. We were hosting these classes that I was always welcome to actually like be hands-on and take a part of. So that was really like inspiring and showing me like it showed me how to work with this whole new form of art that like I didn't really know you could do so much with handmade paper and like sculptural wise or like, pigmenting and all this kind of crazy techniques that you do with paper that I had no idea. So that was probably the most interesting job I had that kind of informed my art and kept me, it made me more inspired to like go home and actually work when I'm seeing these amazing artists during their residencies create these really cool things in paper pulp. So yeah, probably anytime I've worked around like a print shop or an actual artist studio. Unfortunately, when I was at Pace, it was like strictly just staying in the gallery and sales and invoicing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, whenever I was around like more the artist studios, print shops. That was definitely the funner part, the funner jobs I've had.
Interesting. Any other questions? Okay, I guess you answered all our questions, Kirsten.
Okay.
Well, actually,
If anything comes up,
your talk was very thorough. So I think like there were things I was thinking, but instead of asking you, you kind of address it in your
Oh,
talks. I don't have to
well, I
ask.
hope I didn't bore you guys too much.
No, not at all. We really appreciate it. I thought it was a great talk.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me to do this and
Oh,
listening
no,
to me for an hour.
you're very welcome. So just as a reminder to folks, you can visit our website at manhattangraphiccenter.org. You'll be able to sign up for a mailing list. As I said, we do announce our programming and future talks, so you'll get announcements if you're on our email list. You can also follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook because we also roll things out there. That will help you keep up to date. As I said, the recording for this talk, we're going to post it to our YouTube channel fairly soon. And I just want to say one other thing. If you're in our neighborhood, please stop by to see. We currently have up a portfolio exhibition called Greenwood. It includes works by 23 of our members, and it will be on view until May 11th. And with that, I'm going to thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really great. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good
It
to
was
see you guys.
inspiring.